Sometimes you just have to say no to certain things. You have to let go in order to do more. Today, I want to talk about overcommitment, an idea that has been on my mind recently. And I know it's an idea that many of us struggle with, especially from the gaming side. There's always another game we want to play, another title we want to finish, a rank you want to achieve, or whatever. So I was listening to a podcast by Cal Newport. This is the author of Deep Work, a book we've talked about in this productivity series a bunch. And in this metaphor that he shared, I'll leave the full show link down below, you're on a ship, and the ship starts to sink. Now, you're a great swimmer, so it's no big deal, but on the way down, as the ship is sinking, you start to grab a bunch of things that matter to you. Things for work, mementos, hobbies, activities, whatever. You just fill it up in your arms as the ship is sinking. In this person's mind, of course, these items are very important. Each represents a piece of identity, responsibility, joy. But despite how good of a swimmer this person may be, it really doesn't matter if your arms are full. The heavier you become, the more you start to slip below the water. And only once you let go of one or two items can you begin to swim where you want to go. And I think it's a really easy to understand metaphor that, let's say swimming is productivity systems, discipline, teams, delegation, whatever it may be. You could be one of the best habit, schedule, routine people in the world. But ultimately, if you're trying to do too much, you can't really do anything. You can't really make meaningful progress. You can't really go anywhere. And there does reach a point where no amount of optimization or efficiency is going to be able to pull your head above the water. This one hits hard for me because there's a ton of things that I like to do. I want to do things I want to get better at. I like mountain biking, play piano. I want to read more. There's too many games out there for a lifetime. I joked with Epos Vox on our latest Dualcom recording. I could stop buying games right now. I'd be set for the rest of my life. Wouldn't have to buy a single other game again. There's enough there on that backlog to play and replay and finish that would just last a lifetime. Photography, cooking, travel, so much stuff. And it sucks because this struggle of wanting to do everything and knowing you can't, knowing that if I try to continue to do too much, I won't make any meaningful progress. Not only that, even if you have good systems in place, you might be spreading yourself too thin. You'll be missing out on deep progress on any single passion. And honestly, feeling overwhelmed all the time, even if you have a really good system for juggling commitments, it just doesn't feel good. And I don't have a key lesson or a takeaway from this other than there is a necessity here to saying no, about prioritization, clearing out excess, and really understanding that it's not a sign of weakness or giving up a part of who you are. It's about a strategic focus. You're saying no in order to do something else. There are benefits of letting go. Think about unnecessary commitments, things that you don't need to be doing. Is this essential? Does this align with my core values, my goals? Those are the things to say no to first. Maybe it's a group of people you've been hanging out with and they don't reflect your values. They don't have the same interests or goals that you do, but habitually you set aside time to do things with them. Maybe you say no here and there more often to going out with that group. Or maybe you shift that to finding a community that does uphold what you value. People who will be supportive of where you're trying to go. And acknowledge it's really hard to say no because there's this fear of missing out. Focusing on fewer or more meaningful pursuits can lead to greater fulfillment. And I struggle here. I don't have the answer. I don't have a practical, big laundry list of times where I've said no. I'm in the beginning stages of this. I know from a work perspective, I've gotten much better at prioritizing trying to delegate or get out of tasks that I know don't benefit like the actual meaningful work that is useful. I've gotten a lot better at trying to say, could we hash it out through an email instead of a 2-hour meeting? Or maybe you could meet with this team member and they can give me the notes or something like that. But in actual day-to-day life, there's too many things. I've wanted to get back in a rhythm of practicing piano for years now. From high school into college, I did fairly well, and then post-college, I've just been floating. I have a few months where I do well and then fall off again. And I know it's because there's too many things to do. I'm trying to balance the real job and cycling and making YouTube videos and trying to still beat games and all of these things. And I know in order to have real progress, I'm going to have to cut something to reduce the scope somehow. And I imagine most of you feel this because gamers get it. There's so many titles to play. There's so many competitive ranks to go after. I mean, for goodness sakes, if you play one competitive game and you have aspirations of playing at like a tournament level, there's an entire 5-year journey of just like that game right there or longer, right? It's really tough to figure out what to cut down. I think the key is to focus on core passions. Focus on those key areas, the things that you know are really, really important to you. And systems are important, habits are important. The stuff, if you haven't seen the previous videos in the series, I'll link the playlist down below. I think it's really, really important to have those greased and dialed, or at least implemented in some way. But learning how to say no, and not just to others, but also to yourself when you're continually putting more on the plate, is really important to make meaningful progress. Quality focus beats quantity every time. Remember, it's perfectly okay not to do everything. By saying no to some things, you're saying yes to your own growth, happiness, success, progress, whatever it may be. I think something key also is if you just cut something out and don't replace it with something meaningful, it's going to be really tough. A lot of people will be like, I'm going to take a break from social media. I'm not going to look at my phone as much. I'm not going to use this app as much. But they don't actually replace that time with a new meaningful activity. They just kind of go insane and immediately lapse back into using that app or that social media or whatever it may be. Remember, what you're letting go is opening up space so you can do the things that really matter. I don't have the answer. You can't always say no. There's plenty of activities that take a ton of time that we don't like doing that we have to do. But for the things that are within our control, it's worth doing an audit every now and again, just being, is this serving me? Is it making me happy? Is this useful? And do I need to put this on the cutting room floor right now so I can focus on this other thing that I really, really want to get better at or make progress in? Any tips you may have about this subject, I would love to hear it down below. I appreciate you listening. I hope your week is starting very well, and I will see you again in the next video.